What's up, everyone? Welcome back to a new video and a fresh mic. No facial hair. I feel like I'm like 10 years old right now recording this. Way back in December 2020 when I first made the channel. You know what this video is going to be about, guys. Power play changes, line changes, players that are breaking out and had really strong last couple of weeks, and of course the injury news that has come out over the last week. Now, I did decide to push this video until Tuesday because I find that a lot of the injury news does come out on Monday, and when I record Sunday, I'll post on Monday, and then I'll be posting in the comment section below saying, here are all the changes that happened as of Monday. So I've decided to push this now to Tuesday, so expect this video coming out moving forward on Tuesday nights. So guys, like I always say, sit back, relax, and enjoy the content. So starting this video off with the meat and potatoes of this video is the injury news, and we have Leo Carlsson of the Anaheim Ducks took a pretty hard hit on last week, and it looks like he will be day-to-day right now. He didn't play in the most recent Anaheim Ducks game. I think right now he just is going to be a stash in 14+ team leagues. I don't think he has the position flexibility and the upside this season to be a guy that should be owned in 12-team leagues. It looks like it is Ryan Strome, Terry Vetrano moved up to the top power play unit. So those are going to be the guys that are going to be filling those spots right now for Leo Carlsson. But for right now, I definitely think he's just worth a stash in 14-team leagues. Now, if you did watch the intro, I did say I want to be starting to push this video until Tuesdays. And the main reason why is because we start to get a lot of the injury news and player evaluations on Monday. And that's the one outcome we saw with Peter Kochetkov. So I prepped this video on Sunday, and then we got news this morning that he is expected back as of Tuesday, returning from a concussion. A very unfortunate hit where Zach Werenski drove the net and he hit Kochetkov. Just a really unfortunate play. But it looks like he will be back. They're desperate for some goaltending. Spencer Martin definitely has not been the option here. So if you stash Kochetkov, this is going to be a very good time to add him back. I know goalies have been pretty tough from the early going. So with Kochetkov here, he seems to be returning back to the lineup this week. And now we jump over to the Colorado Avalanche with Jonathan Drouin. Returned from injury. He was week to week. Now he's out again week to week with an upper body injury. There's going to be a short bump to Nichushkin and Lehkonen. And the reason I say that is it's a perfect segue to the next point in Ross Colton with a lower body injury. He was expected to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. We're coming up now on the 6-week mark. So it looks like he will be traveling with the team and he may be back by the end of the week. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with Colton. Is he going to bump Nichushkin off the top power play unit? Lehkonen's currently not there, and I'll get into that a little bit later in the video. But if you are someone that has stashed Ross Colton, who was rank 1 in some leagues at some point in the season, definitely worth continuing to stash and activating him as soon as he's returned back to the lineup. Now, he may be available in some of your leagues right now, so definitely someone you definitely should try to roster if he's available. Lastly, we have Zach Hyman here. He was out with an undisclosed injury, one of the weirdest injuries I've seen. It looks like they didn't really give any information. They just gave a timeline, 5 to 8 days as of the 27th of November. So it looks like he should be returning back to the lineup this week. You guys should just hop on Daily Faceoff for a second and just take a look at how thin this lineup is with no Arvidsson, no Hyman, and no Evander Kane. It's actually kind of crazy to see, but for right now, I definitely think Hyman is someone you need to be activating off your roster. And hopefully he returns even halfway to his form last season and has a very strong second half of the year for you. Moving over now to the second set of injuries, we have Patrik Laine of the Montreal Canadiens, who looks like he is traveling with the team. He had a very unfortunate injury in the preseason, which kept him out for the entire season until this point. It looks like he could be back this week. I definitely think he's worth adding 12+ team leagues if you're not already stashing him. His roster percentage really isn't that high, but I do see a path, especially with Slafkovsky's struggles, and I'll get into that again a little bit later in this video. But with Patrik Laine here, he should immediately slot into a top 6 role. I don't know fully about the power play 1, but I don't know if they're going to be keeping Kirby Dach there. So it should be Laine that will be filling that top power play unit role, and the shot upside and the goal upside are both great. It's just a matter of, if he can stay healthy for at least 40 games once he returns from injury. Moving over to Samuel Ersson, like someone who's been actually a very good high volume goalie at very low roster percentage. It looks like he is traveling with the team and could be back as early as this week. So someone, if you're desperate for goaltending or you just need volume in some of those deeper leagues, Ersson's definitely worthwhile add. I have him stashed currently in 2 leagues right now. One that very heavily values volume, and a league that I just didn't draft goalies at all. I went full 0G. So if you're struggling with goaltending, Erson's definitely a guy that I would be looking to add when he looks to return this week. Moving on to Nikita Kucherov, it looks like he's day-to-day. He didn't lace up the skates in the Saturday night's game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Something to monitor. There hasn't really been much news about it. Just stash him on your IR plus for now. You guys know I don't really want to make any takes with Nikita Kucherov right now, but he's a top 5 player when healthy. So hopefully this injury isn't too long. They just got Brayden Point back. The team's been really, really hot. Some of those guys have really stepped up, like Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli, over the last couple of weeks. So hopefully with Kucherov back, this team will look to turn things around and be very, very good like they were pre-Kucherov injury. Now with Thatcher Demko here, it looks like he could return the next 1 to 2 weeks. I think it may be time for you to sell high on Lankinen and potentially buy low on Demko. It's a complete mystery right now, and I honestly think if you're going to trade for him, it's a pretty big gamble. I only have him in one of my 6 leagues right now. I kept him because I had no other options. It was between him or Spencer Knight. And it had to be Demko there. So it's pretty much the only league I roster him. I've been just stashing him on my IR. Don't really have good goaltending in that league. So Demko hopefully comes back to maybe even 75% of what he was last season. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but the Canucks are desperate for some goaltending right now. Moving on to Filip Hronek. It looks like he is going to be out a while with an upper body injury. Not really good news at all. I don't think there are any major benefactors. They just don't really have any like high peripheral defensemen or someone that can just step up in his role. It's not like he's a power play 1 defenseman. He does play big minutes, so maybe even expect more from Quinn Hughes. But for right now, I don't think there's any major benefactors with the Filip Hronek injury. If you roster him, I don't think he's a guy I would be stashing. He's just not that strong peripheral wise. And the points last season were a big outlier for the first half and not very good for the second half. So with Filip Hronek here, I would definitely just drop him if you are desperate for an IR spot. But if you have room in your IR plus or your IR, definitely continue to stash Hronek. Moving on to some lines and power play updates. It looks like Brock Faber has been taken back off the top power play unit again. It was Declan Chisholm that moved up there last week, and now it looks like it's Jared Spurgeon. So this is good news because Spurgeon is very low owned right now across most leagues, and it looks like you may be able to roster him. We know this Minnesota Wild team has been extremely good to start the season, which I'm happy to see. I know I've talked about it, and you may have heard me talk about it a few times with my Kirill Kaprizov heart bet at 26-1 odds. So hopefully that continues to do well with this team's offense producing the way it is right now. I think with Jared Spurgeon, there's not many defensemen that come around that have good value, especially playing on a strong top power play unit and a strong offensive team. So Spurgeon definitely looks like a worthwhile add right now. Now with Uri Slafkovsky, I just want to talk about him a bit. He's been shuffling a lot throughout the lineup to the point where he was on the 4th line for a game and played just around 12 minutes. So something to continue to monitor with Slafkovsky. A little bit of panic there. But if you're an owner of him, I know I am in a few of my leagues, I'm just going to continue to hold him. I'm not going to make any panic moves. I'm not going to look to sell low on him. I'm not going to look to drop him. He does have a ton of upside like we saw last season, but it looks like there is some concern with Slafkovsky and his deployment in the short term. Now with Filip Chytil here, really interesting. It looks like he's returned back to the lineup. It is skating on the top line with Artemi Panarin. They are shuffling things around big time because they cannot get Zibanejad or Chris Kreider going right now. Both of them have been struggling to start the season off, and it looks like Chytil has gained an opportunity to skate on the top line with Artemi Panarin. So I think in 14 plus team leagues, if you need a guy with solid shot volume and solid goal upside, Chytil definitely can fill that role for you. Now we have a little bit of a mess in Boston Bruins line on their power play units right now. It looks like their top power play unit right now is Brazeau, Zacha, Geekie, Pasternak, and McAvoy. While power play 2 is Frederick, Coyle, Marchand, Elias Lindholm, and Mason Lohrei. So going to be interesting to see what happens here. It looks like they're playing a power play 1A and B. Their power play has not been good. If I'm not mistaken, they are currently #1 in the league in power play opportunities, and they have not been scoring power play goals. So this team is just another example of a team that's really desperate for offense right now. Brazeau has been good. Don't think he's worth rostering, although he's top 6 and he's on the power play 1. I can't see these units sticking fully. I don't know if Brazeau and Geekie are the answer to finding offense there, but they're just trying to shake things up. We know that Montgomery's out, so we may see some updates with the new coaching staff. But for right now, this power play is a little bit of a mess, and I'm a little bit concerned about some of my Boston Bruins players on my teams. Moving on to the second half here, we have Aaron Ekblad and Maki Samoskevich. And I saw him play live when he was on Michigan. He was really good, but it looks like both of these players have been promoted to the top power play unit. We knew Ekblad, but we didn't know Mackey. It looks like Verhaeghe has been moved down to the second power play unit, which is a little bit concerning to me because Verhaeghe he is like historically a really strong power play producing player. I mean, he is not skating on the Barkov line. He is on the second line right now with Tkachuk and Bennett. Still really no panic there for me. But still, Aaron Ekblad looks like a very, very strong add. If you didn't add him already, I shouted this out a couple weeks ago. But for right now, it looks like these two are on the top power play unit. Now, some changes in Leafs land now that they're a little bit more healthy. Matthews is back. Matthew Knies is back. It looks like the Leafs are going a 5-unit power play one with Riley demoted down to the second power play unit and Knies being the guy that's promoted up to the top unit with the big four and Marner, Matthews, Tavares, Nylander. It looks like Knies will be the 5th guy on that top power play unit. So not only is he skating top line with Matthews and Marner, he's also on the top unit. So definitely a lot of interest from Knies there and a lot of trust from the coaching staff. It's just going to be interesting to see how this pans out with no defenseman on their top unit. Now, some changes to the Colorado Avalanche here. We have Lehkonen, McKinnon, Rantanen on the top line, Kovalenko, Mittelstadt, Nichushkin on line 2. And it looks like Nichushkin has been the benefactor with the injury to Drouin as he's moved up to the top power play unit. So definitely the biggest bump there to Nichushkin over anybody. And good to see that Mittelstadt is still sustaining the top power play unit role, although hasn't been putting up a lot of power play points recently. Still a lot of interest with how good this Avalanche top power play unit actually is. I'm already prepping for the comments about the Jakob Chychrun. I just had text from before that I copied over. So I've updated it now, but if you can go back and you can see what I had there earlier, it looks like Jakob Chychrun is on the top power play unit with Ovechkin out right now. Hopefully Ovi comes back within the next week or two, but Chychrun has been very, very good over the last couple of weeks. So if he's available in your leagues, definitely still worth rostering him, although not on the top power play unit when Ovi comes back, I don't think, because his power play has been actually relatively good over the last little bit. They've been clicking. Their offense has been good with Ovi out. I don't know what's happening in Washington Capitals land with how good this team is right now. But still, Chychrun, a lot of interest here on the top power play unit with the absence to Alexander Ovechkin. Moving on to some of the breakout players or players that have just been really hot to start the season over the last couple of games. We have Brandon Hagel of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who has been extremely good. He has 23 games played, 29 points, 64 shots, 4 points on the power play. And the reason why I have those exclamation marks there is because he's currently a point per game player at 5-on-5. Like, he is one of the best 5-on-5 players in the league over the last 2 seasons. So this is very promising if you're a Brandon Hagel owner, because not only is he not producing on the power play, he's producing unbelievable at 5-on-5. So if this power play starts to get hot and Hagel starts to find the back of the net or just even assists on the top power play unit, his point production is going to go up very quickly. He does have the opportunity to be a 100-point player this season, which is crazy for me to think about, because when they made that trade for him, Radish, Boris, Kachuk went the other way, and if I'm not mistaken, a couple of picks. I was really surprised to give up that much for Hagel, but really good to see him producing in Tampa Bay, who their whole team has been very hot recently. Now, Elias Pettersson, not really a breakout candidate, but I have a comeback candidate. Really slow start to the season. 1 goal, 4 points through his first 9 games. With 17 points over his last 14 games, 21 points in 23 games on the season. With JT Miller out, Pettersson's going to have to step up offensively, and he has. This power play has been pretty good over the last little bit. I know they had a couple power play goals in their most recent game, so a lot of love here from Pettersson, who is starting to find his game again. Now, I want to give a little shout out to Cole Caulfield here, and then a little bit of bias for me because I do have a futures bet on him over 40 goals. 16 goals in 24 games right now, 0.66 goals per game, the best pace of his career. He's on pace for 55 goals this season, and his shot number isn't even close to what it was last season right now. So hopefully that starts to come up. He's not really getting a lot of assists, but these goals have been coming in bunches. So love to see that for Cole Caulfield, who has been very good. He was a big sleeper this season, going about round 9 and 10 in some leagues. So very good to see with Cole Caulfield. Now, one of the most surprising defensemen on this list, the Wings gave him away for absolutely nothing. This is a team that could use Jake Wallman right now. 22 games played, 4 goals and 19 points, 61 shots, 32 blocks, 18 hits, playing almost 23 minutes per night. He's also a +9 on the San Jose Sharks, which is crazy to see. He's close to a point per game defenseman, one of the highest shot attempts per 60 amongst all defensemen right now this season. So very, very good numbers from Jake Walman in the early going. And he's still relatively low rostered for the production he's had this season. So hopefully you were able to scoop him when he was at like 5-6% when we were shouting him out. And he's been a very, very strong producer on the back end. Lastly, I want to give some love to Adin Hill, who started off this season very poorly. He was slowly losing the net to Ilya Samsonov, but right now 12 goals against in his last 6 starts. 5 of those starts have been on the road and a .921 save percentage in that time. We know how good this Vegas team is. They're a top 5 to 7 team in the league. So Adin Hill looks to be manning the net again as the starting goaltender, and hopefully with his streak over the last 6 games, this is something to come for the rest of the season with Adin Hill, who started the season off pretty cold and still may be a good time to buy low on him. That will do it for the Everything Has Changed video for week 8. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, make sure you leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.